Okay, our next topic is agriculture. This is going to be new to all of us, and I've seen some pictures which is amazing. Would you like to come on and tell us who you are, what you are, what's the reason behind your research, and we'll stop when you finish. You have all the time. There is no time to rush.
All right. My name is David Contreras. I am original from Sonora, Mexico. And in my studies, I went to college to be a chemist, a biochemist. I went to also finish some studies in Arizona State University, doing some, my training. But I went later from that. I got sidetracked in the sense that I went to the natural. And from there, that's where my search began to work with the natural therapies for healing, like kinesiology, homeopathy, and all those healing modalities. I start getting trained on those. And then I start working with what's called essential oils, that it will be almost a kind of GANS, of the plant extraction of the essential oil. I work with that, with those. And then from there, during the process, I came across some of your videos and interviews that you were giving. And from there, it got my attention. I started, going and listening to the videos. I did have something, property in Mexico. And during that time, looking at the information, I decided just to leave the States, the United States. I used to live in the United States. And I went back to the farm, to my family area, where I was born. And from there, I started doing the research with as soon as the information got released for the CO2 capture, the GANS capture, I went right away and started preparing materials for that. At that time, I was already with the idea of going to organic growing. And I began to, because I always was doing helping people with energy healing, I decided that my way for me to help people is through the creation of the right food, the growing of the right vegetables in the right way. I decided not to go to the organic way for certain situations that is kind of controversial in a sense, because they follow almost the same system that the creation of the same materials instead to follow what nature does. And I saw the information of the GANs and said, okay, maybe I can start developing this technology. And I went and did, as you recommended in the Fukushima video, just took a bunch of wires and get it prepare and trying the land. We have a situation where close to where I live, we have one of the uranium mines reserve close to the valley where I live. And that's one of the reasons that got me into throw the same kind of preparation that it was in Fukushima, to throw those in my land. Especially, I did it as experimental plots in the areas where I was already growing organic vegetables at the time. And I added that addition because I was using a system of purifying the water. We got a huge leak, a huge mine, contaminated the whole aquifer from the top of the Sierra Madre, we call, all down to the city of Hermosillo, Sonora. There was a leak of, hundreds of liters of contaminant that went to this river. Until the moment, people are trying to start showing the symptoms with that, but everything was quiet, and the government said everything is okay at this point with that water. But in my understanding of healing and energy, those contaminants still are affecting the aquifer of this area. And with the rains that we have gotten lately, there's a lot of washing of these substances that are going deep into the water, and we are drinking. That attracted again more me into decide to, in a way, collaborate in my own private research, to use, because I was already working with fractured water, different units that I was doing research in agriculture here, besides before I didn't know anything about the Keshe understanding. Then it took me from the beginning of when the first seminar began. I began right away, doing all what everybody was doing the experiments, doing the Keshe reactor in a Coca-Cola bottle. I did all the same. I was duplicating anything I was seeing in the workshops and putting in practice over there in my farm. And I was adding, because all those way that, we say, don't drink it, don't this, don't touch it. I was very aware of that. And in the beginning, my research, I will say, I'm not going to use the GANS per se in my research in the first phase. What I went to do is to my chili pepper plants that grow in the native area of Sonora. It's called chiltepin. I tried to, I did the seedling and start planting the seeds. And then I put a nanowire on each plant. That was the beginning of my research. That was in June, May of 2014. That when my experiment began. And I began to collect this seed. My idea is to form a bank of seeds and also to recoup some of the corn seeds that were lost in my area. We lost this corn that I used to grow when I was younger. And this field where I'm doing the experiment was one of the fields when I was younger. We were growing things there. And I dedicated those areas to start doing the research. And I began, the application of the nanomaterials. Well, that was the first thing I want to say. In my first phase, I want to acclimatize and recoup the seed of the corn that we lost in my area. That was the initial purpose of this research. But then, because I was involved with the permaculture people who are in the bioconstruction, we start doing natural healing and natural growing, cob houses. I got involved in projects, doing that. And then ideas came to me that we can put, as you say, put the GANS just with the mud and put in the walls to create, conditions to more protection to the walls. And I start coming with ideas there in that area, and I started harvesting a lot of GANS. I put a lot of CO2 kits captured to get. My first thought was, if I want to capture the CO2, I decide to only use in the beginning ocean water. That was my first logic. You say ocean water has already a special mixture that is there in nature in my area. And I wanted to use that kind of frequency of vibration and use only ocean water. And I went and collected the pails of water and took it to my farm and started working with that water and doing the accumulation of all kind of GANS. That was my experience. Creating the GANS, seeing what I was getting from different metals. And I also got this collection, and then say I want to get those because I was watching every Thursday the workshops that were going, and I was adding every time new information and trying to apply it. But the first thing I want to say, I want to just put the wires, the nails. I got nails, spirals on the bottom part of the plant in the roots. Some plants when I transplanted the chili peppers, I put meshes, like a silk mesh, and nano-coated with a non-nano-coated wire in aside. And then I just put a zinc mesh or a copper nano-coated wire in the spiral way of vortices. I was just plugging metals in the plants, and I start taking videos. I have a huge archive of videos of information that will explain, like you see here, that was the area that we did the throwing of the nails, washers, and all kind of metals, and we were activating with water there. We were, irrigating the area with the metals that we put. to start the prepping for the next growing things. Here we're planting the romaine lettuce in that area. Here are the chili peppers plant in the lab that I did the year before with the wires. That year we never got a frost so huge. 7 days were coming at the end of the December, and these plants were, even though they were frozen, but usually this plant died. Probably I lost probably 5% of the plants that that were destroyed with the frost. Now with the photos, this is the last year photos, the ones that I have in the videos. After I cut it almost down to the ground, this grew more lush than before, because these nanomaterials, as you said, were fixing more nitrogen in the area, and they were healing the soil. Besides, I did an addition of what we call structured water in some microorganisms. It's called affected microorganisms that I apply together with the GANS materials, I mean with the nanomaterials, because I wasn't sure to use the water, the GANS water. But in the process of this preparation, then ideas came, you know, across. And then in the workshop from the Spanish speaking, they start using the hoses with the GANS. And at that year, these plants of chili pepper you see in the left, they were completely devastated. I had to cut it down to the ground. And at that point, that is when I began the application of the little hoses with GANS. And I started in some of them, I put, as you say, why don't you create the GANS in the ring right there? And I did an application of putting like a static reactor. I put a piece of nano-coated and a piece of non-nano-coated around the ring to watch how the plants will develop. And I start taking my videos. I have my explanations more in the videos. I have an archive of probably 50 videos of taking from that moment every 2 weeks. You know, I've been recording the information with this, you know, in the process. But here, what you see here is the chili peppers that were burned during 2014. Today is a completely different picture right there. Everything was cut down to the ground, and now they are bigger to what you see right now. They are in the process of flowering and producing more chili peppers in this area. These were completely saved by the nanomaterials. That's what I was observing. Everything.
Can I stop you there? Can I stop you there? It's a question to ask. You grew these chili peppers using GANS last year, or nano?
No, nano-coated, only nano-coated wires.
Nano-coated wires.
In the roots.
Did you, okay, only in the roots. Did you consume the end product, the chilies?
Yes, we did that, and I still have some seeds saved, and I saw, in comparison to the year before, these were hotter and better and more flavoring. Just a few of them will really burn you, you know, in the sense of giving the energy or the flavor that we use for the salsas here in Mexico. Because
so what do you mean? Let me just, because we have to be very exact. I'm going to let you carry on, but what I'm trying to establish is that the materials which you have grown has entered the food chain in your society. Are you selling these out, or is it just for your?
Most of them were consumed by the family members. You know, we collect and we use it for our own salsas and for our own usage. And some of the people who were working part of the project, because some people got the chili peppers from those years, because it produces so much that at the end I couldn't harvest all the seeds that they were producing. Just with the nano-coated wires, plus, as I said, I was using structured water. It was a system of water that I was also organizing the water. At the time, I didn't know that these wires could also organize the water was running through them and purifying the water. As you hints right now, that just the wires with the water will help in the process of purifying the water and organizing the water for more food for the plant. I understand now why they were producing so much. But I didn't apply the GANS that I precipitated in the containers.
So you only you
Only the
nano
wires.
coated the
Only
wires, the
nano-coated
pipes.
wires, and prepare the land, especially we threw wires, washers, and everything that we have, and we did
Okay,
follow
okay.
and then we wait a period of time for the wires. After you see here the moment then when we soak the wires right there after we put them across the beds, the growing beds that I was putting. That was my first experimental part for this purpose. And what it grew here is what I am presenting in the different phases where the growth of the corn that you sow. That is part of one of the phases that I need to elaborate more in that.
Can I? Yeah. Can I? No. Just trying to. I understand you're very anxious to share your knowledge with us, but we need some guidance. We need some understanding. So what you did, you put the nano material on the soil.
The soil.
And you left it on the soil for a while to release its power.
Yeah, the seedlings were growing. I put the seedlings growing in my germinating beds. In that, I also used the materials.
What in germinating beds?
Yes, when I did, let's say that I want to put some cauliflowers. I put a special bed where I put a nano coat wire in the center and two non-nano coat wire in the edges, and I put my seeds and water. Those when they were germinating, I did an application only when I planted the seed. I just watered the first time with GANS. I used GANS in some beds, not in all the plants, only to see in certain varieties of plant how they behave if in the germinating process before I transplant, as you see there transplanting, what characteristics they will show. That was for my spring period when I grow the vegetables. Indeed, here I grew this time 3 kind of lettuce. I grew cabbages, fava beans. I put also beets, spinach. It's a combination of vegetables. In the right side, I put some broccolis, and in between that first cycle, I put also some of the corn that came from South Mexico, because you were saying that the corn would develop grass-like, and I did watch certain anomalies in some of the seeds that were prepared according to what I want to be explaining here. And they show 3 stalks growing at the same time. I have the pictures in the.
Okay. We're gonna go. You have the whole day today till we go through this, and then I explain to you. I'll watch your things. If we go on the size of the crop compared, your harvesting compared, let's say, to a year before, 2 years before, what is the ratio increase? How much have you increased your harvest?
In what you see right now with the chili peppers, because in 2014 was my first trial of using the nanomaterials. In those plants, at the size that they are, they produce so much in that year that 2013 that I didn't know anything about these materials. I see an increase almost 300% in the collecting of seeds.
What, 300%?
Yes, because
3 times more.
3 times more. Even at the end, I lost so much because by the end of December, when the frost came, I wanted to see if I could work with the protection of the plants. Because I put the nanomaterials, I trust maybe they're gonna withstand the freeze, but they withstand 7 days practically of still being green and lush, but at the end, the last day of that wave completely burned them. And I just cut the research right there. Until next year, I have the photos, and I cut them almost down to the ground to see, okay, I lost everything. But I saw that everything was coming back. And that's
But what's the normal procedure? What happens if you have such a frost? Do you lose the plant?
Yes, you lose a lot of other plants.
No, I mean, if this would have happened without you using the material, would have you lost all the plants with the frost?
In these conditions, yeah, we lose a lot. Now, the plant you see at the end of the road, that's a native plant that has been there in this land. Those plants have the ability to withstand and those freeze, and they go and come back. But these ones, because some of these varieties are not natives completely. There are with a regular paper will come and will be burned, you know, and it will come. It will sometimes they won't spring back in the next period. You have to replace the plant and put another plant. Most of the plants that I have from the last year, they're still standing in there, and they are now.
We've seen this with herbs. So you're confirming what we reported about Dela seed 4 or 5 years ago, and what we've seen with our Chinese colleagues when they show the Chinese lettuce in the frost with the snow. So it, in a way, it strengthened the structure of the material in respect to frost. But if you look at the size of the harvest, if let's say the harvest was 1 centimeter or 2 centimeter long, did it increase in size, or is it just the number of the chilies increased?
What it was increased was the production in the biomass of the plant, because the size is all, this kind of varieties is already set. And some of them, they grew bigger. There were some varieties that were bigger, and they were more, as I say, more tasty and more hot. That's
but has the size of the fruit increased or not?
Yes, it increased. In the ones that were bigger, the production in the plant, I would say it went like some plants I saw 150% growth, you know, of what I saw before. Other than they kept this.
I'm going to ask you, okay, sorry, I'm going to, because I've written things I want to ask. Have you seen any side effect with any of your member of family consuming this? Have you seen any changes? In behavior, in physical, have you got 2 tails and 4 legs? That kind of
nothing like that. You know, because these chili peppers are used sparingly during when you have a stew. You just put one of those little balls, and that will change the flavor of your food. That's how we use these chili peppers. They are very known here in Sonora. We put it also with cheeses. But this, because I wanted to keep these seeds, the way that I distribute those seeds only to people that I knew. And they were also buying my organics basket. This here, I put some organic baskets for the people who were consuming this only with the nanomaterials in the structured water.
Did you explain to them this is what you've done, this is made with the new material?
You can see that explanation in my video that I have it in Facebook. I released a video in Facebook exactly explaining that I was using this.
Can you give us your video link that people can watch?
It is in David Gustavo Contreras. That's how I am in Facebook.
Can I explain to you before you go any further? This is important. We have seen this with other people who come front in the foundation work. People in the background try to approach you to all sorts of games.